Hello, good afternoon, ladies, gentlemen, theys, and gays. This is The Real Pineapple, and this is your humble host, Hunter, here. Hope you're all having a great week so far. Happy pre-4th of July. But we'll get into that in a moment. We are going to be joined here in a moment or two by friend of the show, Nick of the Afternoon Tune. But while we're waiting, I have Canada's favorite son. I've got Bradley. Bradley, how you doing, sir?
Good, thank you.
So I'm gonna ask you a very random question, but you know me. That's kind of what I do. What do you use for your hair? Because your hair always looks. I I showed Alea a picture of you the other day, and she
just water and
you don't use shampoo or conditioner. Or...
No, not really.
Really?
Yeah, it's just grown out.
Oh, you.
And now I got this wish.
Yeah, because like I was making the comparison. I was like, oh my god, he should be. I was like, Bradley should be starring in a dodgeball sequel with how that hair is.
I'm having because I'm having a bit of a midlife crisis. My body doesn't work that well anymore, so I'm not cutting my hair because I'm afraid this is it. This is all I'll have left of it.
No, I wasn't even saying like that. I meant because like you have that white Goodman, like the hair, like the locks are looking fluffy, and like that's what I meant. I didn't mean like something malicious. Like I think it looks fucking fantastic. But I was so pleasantly caught off guard by how your hair has been growing. It's like, it looks really good. So I was actually here. Oh, there's Nick. Hello, Nick.
Hi.
That's actually very funny. I didn't realize when you add people to stage that they pop up that quickly. So that was kind of funny. But I mean, I'll say for myself, man, like the amount that is a black struggle that I wish people understood. Like me actually having to find a barber or someone that can actually take care of my hair, because I can't just go to fucking Supercuts and be like, cut this. So that's part of the reason why I think we're 2 years into me growing this out, and I don't know what I'm gonna do. If I'm probably gonna cornrow it just because I'm just kind of over dealing with it. But the amount of money I spend on black hair care products is like to keep this shit looking good is it's quite frustrating. Yeah, so everyone, thank you so much for joining us. Happy pre-4th of July. So before we're going to be talking about
pre-4th of July. Remember to leave out milk and cookies for Captain America tonight.
Exactly. That's one of the few things about America that's worth celebrating right now. So actually, that's a perfect segue into what I'm calling Soapbox Corner. So I have been, I've had Canada and Brandon on several times, and I usually start off the show by ranting about something that is like really bothering me. So because I am someone who truly believes in safe spaces and thinks that everyone needs to be able to get their shit out, that's one reason, honestly, why I keep why I've done the podcast for so long, is because it's actually therapeutic to be able to, talk about why a Tara Perry movie sucks or talk about like good shit.
Dude, you're preaching to the choir at this point, man.
Oh, we've talked about off mic. Like it is one of those things. Like Alea will tell you when I'm doing my worst of list and I'm just like in January and I'm just like grumble. I like, how did so much bad shit come out this past year? It makes you appreciate all the great shit that came out for that year, because you're like, oh wow, there's a lot of like really great film. But it's a nice kind of gauge to almost like reset what pisses you off and like what and what kind of irritates you.
Oh, dude, yeah, because like prior to me like actually doing the podcast, I thought Zack Snyder was just like he's a pretty meh filmmaker. But since starting and being on the show and having watched both parts of Rebel Moon, Alexa, play Euphoria by Kendrick Lamar.
It really is funny that like one of my favorite things, and you're not the only horror person who shares this belief, but all my horror friends I've talked to about Night Swim have given me this look.
Oh,
like that is that's the universal look I've been.
Well, it's and you think we're being hyperbolic when we say it truly sucks, but we're not.
Yeah, like I'll get to it at some point. Like my big axe to grind, and
it's kind of like how mutual friend of both of our shows, Nathan Flynn, how hyperbolic he gets about Top Gun, or even more recently with Hitman. And there's no way it can be like this good or this bad. With both Hitman and Night Swim, they are both the quality of the quality that the hype is around.
Yeah, I haven't watched Night Swim yet. It will get watched at some point because war stuff. But
I'm the second you queue it up, when you put it on your streaming app, I'm just gonna be like Matthew McConaughey in Interstellar, like no.
Well, it's funny because like my big one. So Rebel Moon is up there. Like Rebel Moon has been like
that movie pissed me off so bad.
It's the Scargiver this year or last year? I don't even remember.
Year.
Scargiver was this year. Child of Fire was last year.
Yeah,
was like December last year.
I haven't seen either of them.
So. Yeah, you're missing nothing.
Good on you.
Yeah, you're very lucky.
I said I was going to wait for the what he said he had 6-hour editions of
yes,
both.
the 6-hour editions.
Which man, like not even fucking Ben,
dude,
not even Ben Hur 6 hours.
Like Zack Snyder, it's like, dude, you're on Netflix. They let Martin Scorsese make a 4-hour cut of The Irishman. Yeah. There are no restrictions for what you can release here.
Yeah, it's very dumb. So in the spirit of Soapbox Corner, I'm gonna go ahead and kick it off. Okay, I cannot express enough how much Megamind, that sequel, it's just like it has been in my head. Like, so what's really interesting is like Rebel Moon I hate. I do hate Rebel Moon, but Megamind and Unfrosted have just been circling in my brain for like the last couple months. And anytime I hear someone bring them up or reference them, I just get so agitated all over again. And it's like it's taking me back to when I originally watched them and was like, wow, this is dog shit. And I actually I called Canada out in one of my latest reviews, but I always tell Canada I'm gonna call you out in this review. I'm always like very like I'm always straight up if I'm gonna call someone out. But I went off on the whole like quality of like, oh, it's just it's on stream, work is work, and I'm like, no, because what happens is you get bad kids movies and then your kids grow up thinking that shit is good when it's not. And it's like, your kids deserve better. Like I would never like Bradley being such a great dad. I know that like Bradley would never sit down and go like, oh man, I need to do my taxes. Oh, here kids, watch Underdog. The Disney one, not the animated, the animated show. The animated show is great, but I know he would never torture his kids like that. And what in like the first Megamind, like it's okay. I think it's fine. Like nothing about it really stood out to me except for the fact that Brad Pitt did an animated voice and got killed very soon in the film.
Well, slight spoilers, but or did he?
Yeah, exactly. But when I just saw the trailer of it, I was just like, man, this is like giving off those Norm of the North vibes where it's like this just exists strictly to exist. There is no passion or care or anything put behind it, and that's what actually frustrates me. It frustrates me when there is like that lack of imagination or care put into a project, because you think about all those people in film school who have scripts that will never see the light of day, who actually put time into it and are like, man, I'd love someone would just, give me a fucking shot. And I think about that in terms of something like Ultraman Rising, which that is my number 2 favorite film of the year right now. Like it's so close to being as great as Hitman for me. And you're talking to someone who has a very base level of knowledge when it comes to Ultraman. And that movie just made me so happy. It's rated PG, so you can watch it with your kids. And it's like, wow, this is what can happen when you actually, you know, give a fuck and you know, and care. And it makes me really sad because I'm going to see Despicable Me 4 on Friday morning. I'm seeing that shit at 9 a.m.
I am too.
The only reason I was supposed to see it tonight, and this is what's gonna take me to my second thing before I throw it to y'all. The only reason I'm not seeing it tonight is because of the fireworks, and not because I want to watch the fireworks. Because to be quite frank, people, can we just have the conversation about how dangerous fireworks are and how they like burn down buildings and burn down trees and, you know, what's his name? Jason Pierre-Paul, an NFL player, lost fingers because like he wasn't being safe with the shit. It's like there's more risk than reward than there is with fireworks, as far as I'm concerned. Unless you're watching,
there's a very simple rule. If I could PSA really quick, it's the most simplest rule to remember. Because every July 5th, you have celebrities and even regular people with their YouTubes doing PSAs going, I lost my fingers. Fireworks are dangerous. Don't light a firework and have it in your hand at the same time. It is
right.
A very simple. It's like day one stuff. You know,
it's like
this M80. I'm going to throw it. No. Don't have the fuse lit while holding a firework. Very simple stuff.
Yeah, because I'm at my work. We had the usual. You know, it's a long weekend, so we had the usual brief of, you know, don't do dumb things. If you do get in trouble, give one of the leaders a call. And a whole like 20-minute diatribe of that was just you know, warning about being careful with fireworks. It's like don't drink and light up fireworks. And at some point I was just kind of fed up, so I just blurted out loud, if this could possibly be a stunt on Jackass, don't do it.
Yeah, exactly. That's a perfect way to put it, honestly. Like it's really funny how often they put the fucking you know, do not try this at home, and people just completely ignore
Still
that
do
shit.
it.
It's like, y'all, like the reason why. Like,
I mean, to be fair, at least some of the stunts on there look actually kind of fun. Like the one where it's like you're getting catapulted into the lake.
Oh yeah, that one does look fun.
That looks kind of fun.
But you know, the amount of time those guys have been hitting the balls, it's like, oh my god, like how do you even walk? But
dude, I do boxing and Muay Thai for a hobby, so I've been hitting the head a lot. And I still wouldn't fuck with any of that.
Like, it's just like it's really funny you bring that up. Like, I was talking to Alea about it, my amazing partner. But I was talking to her about it, and she asked me like, have I ever been in a fight? And I was like, oh yeah, I've been in like 10, 12. And she's like, really? I'm like, yeah. And she was asking me, she was like, what's it like getting hit? I was like, so the thing about getting hit is like, you're more pissed off when it happens because you're like, what the fuck? Like you hit like dude, asshole, you hit me.
I can't, like, dude, even back in, you know, the days where I was like more actively training and, you know, I was friends with a couple of fighters, so I would help them get ready for fights. Even in that context, when we're sparring, is like they catch me clean. It's like, you motherfucker.
Yeah, it's not fun. Like when you get hit, you're like, what the like that's your, you know, your natural like primal instinct. It's like, what the fuck, you just hit me. But when it's a fight, if it's in the context of an actual fight, then it's like, oh, you hit me. Like, okay, motherfucker. Like, yeah, being hit, not fun.
Speaking of somebody who does that recreationally and has, you know, probably would have pursued that if not for a couple injuries, don't do it at home.
Yeah.
Or if you do, only do it with like people you know, people you trust, people that you know, are going to work to your skill level.
Yeah, exactly. Which is why I know that there's an actual separate awards for them, but that's why we need a best stunt Oscar, because like you see some of these shots and shit. It's just like, y'all, like put some respect on these people's names.
And one of the like craziest ones was I think it was Daniel Radcliffe's stunt double on Harry Potter in like Goblet of Fire. He was like paralyzed for life.
Yeah.
Off of doing that movie. And, you know, good kudos to Daniel Radcliffe. He took it on himself to take care of that guy, make sure he was looked after. But, you know, as far as like all the major awards categories, it's like the Oscars, nothing. Not a blip. We got like a little bit of lip service during this past year's ceremony. It was like, yeah, thank you to the stunts, which is, you know, basically a lifetime achievement award, which counts for fuck all.
Yeah. Like, speaking of that, since you brought it up, I would highly recommend y'all, if you haven't checked it out, check out that documentary that Daniel Radcliffe produced about that stunt double, called the boy who lived, is what it's called.
Nice.
Highly recommend checking that out. That is well worth your time.
He mentions that man a lot, and most of his anytime he wins something, he always brings up that man as well.
Which I appreciate the hell they does that.
Yeah, it's like in the spectrum of like child actors, Daniel Radcliffe's one of the good ones that, you know, didn't go crazy. Or if he did, we didn't hear about it.
What's amazing about him is he's so open and honest about being a human being too. Like he'll talk about, oh, I sure want to get knackered and smashed tonight, but I'm not going to do it. Who knows what'll happen tomorrow? And I'm like, I fucking love this guy. This kid is amazing. Like, who says that as a celebrity and doesn't expect the tabloids to run with it? You know, it's really cool of him.
The moment he rapped Black Alicious Alphabet Aerobics, I was like, dude, this motherfucker, like I was like, god damn. Like, so while I can't stand the Tonight Show now, I think that the format is just, I think Jimmy Fallon is just like, like he's such a fame whore. That's the best way I can put it.
Pretty much the only late night hosts I actually like are Conan. Conan still to an extent. I think he's a great interviewer, and Seth Meyers. But most of that is because Myers does the like day drinking with some of the guests, and they actually get shit faced during it.
I would say Myers, Conan,
Graham Norton drinks with them as well.
Yeah, Graham Norton's great.
That's a UK show, right?
That's UK.
That I say that ironically every so often on the pod, but I think it's actually true. I feel like the Real Pineapple would play way better in the UK than it would in the US. Like I think they would just be like, wow, this guy just doesn't give a fuck, and that would be endearing in the UK.
But I feel like a lot of your sense of humor are influenced by stuff like Monty Python, because you kind of have that like very dry, very British sense of humor.
Well, it's funny because I don't bring it up all the time, but I watched that show Spaced a lot, the one Simon Pegg and Nick Frost did, and that's heavy, like dry, like fucked humor, like very much in that, you know, Edgar Wright wheelhouse. And and Graham Norton's a perfect example of like how of just how you can like do that format. But and shout out John Oliver too. I fucking love John Oliver. His show has been fantastic. But all that to say, I'm gonna put my soapbox down. Canada, is there anything that you want to tell the people about? Anything that's peeving you? Anything you want to talk about before we pass it to Nick?
That's peeving me. I just want to trash Night Swim again real quick. Wyatt Russell being at the peak of his career and this coming out feels like bizarre sabotage.
The more insulting thing is Carrie Condon, who was nominated for an Oscar the previous year for Banshees of Inisherin, is basically given a fucking nothing role as the mom of the family.
I want to say that it's bad in a very unique way. It's not fun bad, which is weird for a horror movie, because me and the kids watch bad horror movies that aren't too scary. Night Swim is not scary at all.
Yeah, it's like bad horror, if done right, can still be a lot of fun.
Yeah,
it's like one of my favorite movies, one of my favorite double features ever is Jason X and Freddy versus Jason.
Freddy vs. Jason is fun. I actually have seen that one.
Which on any objective critical level, both of those movies are fucking terrible. But I will watch them every single October for Halloween because they are so much goddamn fun. Every time I have friends over and we're just like fucking around watching movies, getting pizza and beer, we're watching like Freddy vs. Jason.
So I think that's a perfect example too of like one of those movies that is so bad. Like it's so bad it's good. Like okay, before I throw it back to you, Canada, I'll just say I'll throw out one example for me. Fucking Bushwhacked. Bushwhacked is such. It's not a good movie. I could never like go in front of a class and go like, okay, Bushwhacked, good film. You all should watch it. But Daniel Stern commits to that shit like a motherfucker. Fun fact,
and that's the key to so bad it's good. It's like you have to have a cast or at least like one performer that is like all in on what they are doing. A good example is like Matt Smith and Morbius.
That is a prime example actually.
Sorry, that was a reflex. No,
you're
gave
good.
me like a PTSD a little bit.
Weird that Matt Smith out-weirded Jared Leto in a movie.
How did that even
happen? See, the difference is Matt Smith is self-aware and he is in on the joke.
That's a fair point. But Daniel Stern straight up didn't learn how to rock climb because his character, he's such a bumbling buffoon. Why would he know how to do this shit? So apparently, like he did most of his own stunt work, which like you see some of those shots, it's actually pretty. They're up high. That's some dangerous shit that they're doing, and so it's I give him all the props in the world for committing to the bit. But that movie is so like if you're a parent and you didn't put together that this guy is a con man, you were all like that's a secret services at your door or child protective services at your door the next day. Like, hey, you're a neglectful fucking parent and we're taking your children away for the greater good.
It's kind of like the audiences that finally realize that Homelander's the bad guy on The Boys.
Right.
Which
they were up front. That was like the end of the pilot.
Oh yeah, the show is very.
He murders a child at the end of the pilot. Spoilers for season 1. Homelander unquestionably looks a child in the face and murders a child in the pilot. The scene was that a Trachtenberg episode? I want to say.
That was Dan Trachtenberg.
It's a great pilot. Excellent episode. The setup is a young child sees the hero of heroes flying through the sky. Is excited by that.
Yeah, basically.
And then that hero murders him.
Yeah, that
sets
Superman.
up the whole show. And for people to be like, Homelander's bad? Like,
wait, you're making the symbol of America the villain?
This is before Nazis. It was before Stormfront. Before the weird kinky stuff.
Oh, yeah.
People should have known like right away, like, oh, murdering children is bad. I see. This is a bad guy. Like
it's fucking ridiculous.
It goes into my next soapbox thing, like media literacy. I'm not going to pretend it's easy. I have conversations with a lot of people about media because a lot of times, Hunter, Nick, I'm like, the fuck is this supposed to mean? And you guys very calmly and nicely and respectfully, I got to say, are all like, well, the scene clearly, and then you give your take, and I'm like, wow, media is amazing. But there's got to be some way to correct this when masses of people by season 4 are like, hey, wait a minute. This is a show that's making fun of my consumer-driven life? That's not cool. Like episode A-Train and his soda and the Deep and Fresca. They've been making fun of you for seasons and seasons and seasons, everybody.
They've been making fun of you for at least like 6 years.
Oh, yeah.
He's just realized it.
It's crazy to me with The Boys how now I will say I have not watched any season 4 and per my superpower I've avoided spoilers like the Matrix, like Neo.
I'm not spoiling anything, but as far as the show as a whole, I feel like season 4 has kind of had the weakest start.
Interesting. Okay.
Because I feel like the show at this point, it's kind of spinning its wheels a little bit because the last couple seasons, you were set up so much for, okay, Homelander is going to die in the finale of the season. We can't kill Homelander yet.
Yeah, I will say, and we talked about, we've actually talked about a lot in the group chat how we thought that 5 seasons for this was kind of going to be the perfect layout.
That seems to be the magic number for Eric Kripke, because one of the shows he ran previous to this was Supernatural, and if you just watch the first 5 seasons of that show, that works perfectly as this like self-contained narrative. It's like 5 seasons. If the show cut off there, it's remembered as one of the greatest shows of all time.
Absolutely. And but CW was like 5 seasons. Fuck that. Like you better keep this shit going.
Jensen and Jarrett said, "Wait, I just bought a house in Los Angeles. You know how expensive the mortgage is."
Yeah.
Right.
The showrunners for the Vampire Diaries said they only had a plan for 4 seasons as well, and CW was like, "Nah, this is too popular. We're going."
Yeah,
it's that meme. It's like, the fuck you do.
Yeah, well, what's really funny is someone who actually watched Vampire Diaries up to like season 5 because Nina Dobrev girl
doing a dual role. That's why I watched
it.
I think she's fantastic in that.
We'll get to it also with Gen V, but that whole cast can get it.
Oh, absolutely.
I met Ian Somerhalder at a Comic-Con when I was in Tokyo, and yes, audience, he looks even better in real life than he does on TV.
He is a distractingly attractive man.
Disturbingly. I forgot the English language when I met him.
So I'll be real. The only my biggest issue with that show is they write Stefan is such a bitch at points. Like it's just like, man, you just need to kill Damon. Like he's so, he's not good for the world. And but that show went on so long that fucking Nina Dobrev left the show. And they're like, fuck it, keep it going. They're like, we don't give a shit.
Nina Dobrev left the show and nobody noticed.
Yeah. Like even she was like, yeah, I've been on here too long. Like I'm good. But to go back to the boys, for you, Ken, I will say, as a person of color, my biggest axe to grind has been how the people of color, like the representation on that show, and conservatives, morons being like, man, like I don't get why this show's so preachy. It's like, oh man, like you really are just not understanding anything about this goddamn show, are you? Homeland.
I mean, we see that all the time, especially with with Marvel and with Star Wars, especially now with the Acolyte. Is like these people are so fucking dumb. They're review bombing a movie from 2008 called Acolyte, and on their Rotten Tomatoes reviews, there's like, "Damn, when did Star Wars get so woke?" It's like, if you're sad, if you're gonna be review bomb something, at least review bomb the right thing.
Yeah, people.
Right. That's super peculiar.
Yeah, but so I will ask you, Canada, as we wrap up your soapbox and pass it to Nick. Is there anything about? Is there anything season 4 wise that you like? Is there anything about the show that really does stick in your crawl, like whether as a viewer or as or from the perception that people give about the show? Is there something in particular that bothers you about it, or?
No, I think the show's fine. I think it can range from fine to great a lot of the time. I don't like that. I think the actress's name is Karen Fukuhara. I don't like how at first she wasn't allowed to talk, and that tied into the whole mysterious East, quiet. Ooh, what kung fu does she know?
I was there too until I saw like the first 3 episodes of season 2. Where she's talking with her
full fleshed out layered character now. With her own free will and decision making, and
gave a performance
cool fight scenes,
and gave a performance that made me cry.
Same
with made up sign language.
Yeah. There you go. I don't think the boys and a lot of media, like I've said, is ready to accept how vile mankind can be. There's a montage sequence where people are like, Stormfront's a Nazi, that's not okay, and Vought News is all like, well, we never liked her, and that's nonsense. If they're really parodying a state-run media, they'd be like, what's wrong with Nazis? You'd have Bill O'Reilly fuck being like, I think those people enjoyed the camps, like fucking idiot Bill O'Reilly would say something like that.
Yeah, it's like The only thing about the whole Stormfront plot in season 2 is that we didn't get Kanye's whole anti-Semitic meltdown yet.
Yeah, it's the thing about season 2 of The Boys, which I do think is a strongest season.
It has aged beautifully. It has aged like fine wine.
For better or for worse, it's aged beautifully. But I will say myself for season I'm old enough to remember Glenn Beck and how he would just use the word Nazi like the biggest buzzword. It's like, dude, do you even know what a fucking Nazi is, you asshole? And it's like, clearly you don't, because
at that point in like the early 2000s, Nazi was basically like the original like woke.
Yeah, that's exactly
it was like a term that was like thrown around so much that it essentially loses all meaning.
Yeah, which it shouldn't. Like, and it's amazing how many people I've seen go like, if you discovered it like an 80-year-old lived next door to you was a Nazi, like what would you do? I'm like, oh, I'd call the cops. Like, it's not even
you gotta report that.
Yeah, it's a very simple answer.
Crimes against humanity living next to you. Who knows what you're gonna do to someone else?
You
so gotta pay for that shit. Justice must be served. Why is everyone against justice these days?
I don't know.
Because the defendant is the guy they support. That's why.
Yeah, I mean that too.
I've never seen justice like that.
But
anyways,
all right,
kind of saw it last year.
All right, Nick, soapbox, talk to me.
Ooh, shit. Kind of putting you on the spot. All right, my soapbox. So. Anybody who's talked to me, and Bradley, you and I talk about it all the time, but I'm a huge fan of mixed martial arts and the UFC. Oh, yeah. And last weekend they had one of their best events of the year so far with UFC 303, where Alex Pereira knocked out Yuri Prohaska in a rematch in the second round and looked spectacular doing it. And all I can say right now, because that event was supposed to be headlined by Conor McGregor. And all I can say now is I kind of feel vindicated because now people are turning around on hating Conor because he pulled out.
Damn. Okay.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong.
His whole reputation prior to that, it was like, I never pull out of fights. I owe it to the fans who are like paying money to come and watch me fight. And he did that. He was like, he knocked out Chad Mendez, who at the time was like the number 1 or number 2 guy at featherweight. This was like during his rise to superstardom. He fought him on a torn ACL. He fought Eddie Alvarez with the I think it might have been a torn MCL, and he fought Khabib on a broken foot, which we all know how that fight went.
Foolish to fight anybody on a broken foot.
Yeah, and it's kind of even funnier now because he pulled out of this fight ostensibly for a broken pinky toe. And if you remember, if we're following the sport back in the day, it was like when Conor was the featherweight champion. And one of the first super fights they tried to put together was between him and Rafael dos Anjos, who was the lightweight champ at the time. It was like the weight class above. And leading up to it, they got to about 3 weeks before the event, and Dos Anjos pulls out of the fight because of a broken foot. And the entire press conference, Conor McGregor was like, it's like, look at that. Look at the x-ray. It's like, take some ibuprofen, get some rest, do the fight. And he pulled out.
That was good, by the way.
For an injury that is like the pinky. Yeah. That I've seen dudes fight with the bone sticking out. And this bitch ass motherfucker pulls out.
Well, the fighter that took his place, I understand, has always had toe pain as well.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's funny.
his they asked him about it. English isn't his first language, so it's translated. So it's anyone's guess what the exact translation is. Thank you, internet. Mm-hmm. They're like, well, if you get a broken toe, or if your toes are too messed up to fight, are you going to pull out? And he says, if I can stand, I can smash, or something. And he did, supposedly, and this might be internet hyperbole, he finishes the fight with a head kick and some ground pound. But I guess he hurt his toe on that head kick, and he just pops it back in.
Oh
on the
my
corner
God.
before the celebration is what people are saying.
Yeah, that shit was wild to see live. But yeah, with the UFC, it's a sport I love, but it is like kind of reached the point of saturation where there are too many fighters on the roster and too many events that the UFC has to put on in order to pay these guys, that quality gets diminished. That even now, as a longtime diehard fan, I'm really only like setting aside time and like making it an event on my schedule to watch some of these fights.
Yeah,
interesting. So I mean, I'll say myself, like, with UFC being tied into,
I'm wearing a fucking jersey now, and
with UFC being tied into Endeavor being a part of WWE, which, my God, that sentence is still weird to say out loud. The fact they're all under one umbrella. So first off, something that
I mean, if you think about it, if you follow the sport and you think about it, a lot of like what we know the UFC today, some of it, at least in part, is owed to the WWE. If not for kind of the rise of the trash talk culture, a rise of people cutting promos, getting personalities like Chael Sonnen, like a lot of the guys who were like really good at trash talking. The biggest event of all time prior to Khabib McGregor was UFC 100, and who was the main event? Brock Lesnar.
Yeah.
Well, Brock Lesnar shocked so many people with his excellent mic work, because so much mic work before Brock Lesnar and after Brock Lesnar is
like,
they're gonna close the cage doors and I'm gonna win. Like, you're very terrible.
Yeah, and even it's kind of a problem to this day of a lot of fighters. Is like, all right, you just had a big win in the division. Who do you want to fight next? It was like, I'll take whoever the UFC puts in front of me, which on paper sounds good, but
right,
like kind of like the hype era is like you gotta call somebody out. You gotta like make a case to move up the rankings. It's like, this is a sport where you could have like a 10, 11, freaking 12 fight win streak in a sport where there are so many ways you can lose and so many things can go wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, a guy like Tony Ferguson went on an 11 fight win streak before he lost to Justin Gaethje in one of the most horrific losses I've seen in my entire life. Never fought for the undisputed title.
Right. Chris Weidman, who went on a 10+ fight winning streak, his whole personality was, I'm from a state that's popular in America. I don't even remember what state it was. Is it New York?
Yeah, he was a New York guy.
I'm from New York, and that's his personality. He couldn't get a title fight on that weak personality. Long.
No, he only got the shot at the title because he was only 9-0 at the time. He only had 9 professional fights, and when he fought Anderson Silva, Anderson had cleaned out the division. That was like that was like the very tail end of Anderson's prime.
So I'll say myself, and I stand by this conspiracy theory, and I think the more the UFC like ages, I think it proves me more correct. I don't give a fuck what he says. Dana White fucking hates Rampage Jackson for beating Chuck Liddell. Like, I remember, I remember
Dana White's very petty and gross.
Well, Chuck was his boy.
Chuck prior to Zuffa buying the UFC, it was like that was the company of the Fertitta brothers and Dana White. Prior to them buying the UFC, Chuck Liddell was managed by Dana White.
Yeah. Which people forget, but Chuck Liddell was his, that was his boy. And I still remember, like, that's why Rampage will probably always be my favorite personal MMA fighter, because he was one of the first I remember seeing mixing that showmanship aspect with the trash talk. And I remember for months leading up to that Liddell fight, everyone was kind of like, he knocked out Liddell in Pride, like there is a chance. And
and it's so funny with Rampage Jackson. Everybody talks about his run in the UFC is like, his run in Pride was way better. It was like lot of his biggest wins were in that promotion.
Yeah,
and the lack of certain rules really let him exploit his wrestling even better.
Oh, that power bomb that he would hit!
I
was always
not
like,
allowed to do something
Christ.
like
that that's
in the UFC because they want to protect the head and the neck of their fighters, obviously, which I think is a good thing. But in Pride, he would just destroy people with
and that was Pride, where you couldn't like throw elbows, but you could soccer kick people on the ground.
Yeah, like no Pride, like. People forget, and I do think like Dana, like there's definitely an aspect to like bearing, I think, Rampage's legacy to an extent. I remember when he lost to Forrest Griffin, and I was fucking bummed. I was like, God damn it! I was like, this sucks. But Rampage though, like I think that moment, because I mean, look, Liddell ran through really everyone. I mean, you know, he beat Tito, he beat Randy Couture, like Liddell was on this streak that everyone's kind of like, oh man, like who's gonna be able to stop him?
Yeah, it's a case of, and I talk about this all the time with the like fighter friends of mine. It's like there's in a sport like boxing, a sport like mixed martial arts, there are like certain times in a fighter's career where they just go on this epic run where they look like the pound for pound king. They are the best in the world. And we talk about like Connor's rise to like double champ status, Anderson's entire run, GSP's basically whole career post Matt Serra loss.
Yeah.
And Chuck Liddell was one of those first guys.
Yeah, like he was the first like dominant like champion I remember, at least in UFC. I mean, I remember when you used to like get the UFC on like the fucking like tapes. Like I still remember Ken Shamrock's Shamrock's reign. I still remember like there are some badasses in the UFC like pre, you know, what it's become. As much shit as she gets, and rightfully so to an extent, that's something about Rousey that attracted people to her, is that she was able to talk shit, and she had so many of these women beat before they even stepped in the octagon because they are already so intimidated by her.
Yeah, one, it was a little bit of the Mike Tyson effect. Is like you can tell when somebody is like beat before they get into the cage. And another thing, and a lot of people are probably going to hate me for this, but just the skill level of women's mixed martial arts, it's so far behind that even today, like off the top of my head, there's only like 3 women in the UFC that I like get excited when I hear an announcement of their fight. One of them is Miranda Maverick, who is a former training partner and a very dear friend of mine.
Oh, that's cool.
The other is Zhang Weili, who is the current strawweight champion, and the other is Rose, and it used to be Joanna Jędrzejczyk before she retired, who was just inducted into the UFC Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Oh shit. But
well, like, it was a smaller pool when Rousey was rising to pull from. Like here is Olympic medalist Ronda Rousey versus Janet, who said she liked to throw a scrap. We saw her at the bus stop, and no disrespect at all to Janet, but that's not someone who could win against an
But
Olympic
that's also
athlete.
like, but that is probably, I think that's the most WWE that Dana's ever booked UFC, because he was definitely going like, oh, are you hot? Are you mildly interested in MMA?
Like
sure.
Like, I mean,
oh my dude. Okay. Yes.
Paige Van Zandt had good basics, but she didn't rise above good basics.
Yeah, Paige
and she didn't have the time to. Some of these women were coming in, like training in the mountains since they were like 6. You can't put Paige Van Zandt against a killer like that.
Exactly.
Yeah, bro. Paige Van Zandt got a main event slot in her 3rd fight in the UFC.
Yep.
Just because she was hot.
Yeah, and I will say too,
and she just got dropped in a boxing match with an OnlyFans model. So take that info what you will.
But she won her power slap fight. So which by the way, to get my soapbox back real quick, I hate that power slap is a thing. I hate that Dana White is pushing it. Like I actually think it undercuts the UFC by putting it in the same sentence as power slap, which he's been doing more and more. And I'm like, dude, stop doing that. Like these people doing MMA are actually training, like going to camp, or actually,
and the thing is with MMA, with boxing, kickboxing, Muay Thai, you're allowed to defend yourself. It was like the entire every before the main event kicks off, it was like protect yourself at all times, obey my commands at all times that the ref gives. Power slap, you can't fucking do that. You're literally just asking for CTE.
Yeah, I think it's irresponsible as fuck. I think it's actually legit disgusting, to be quite frank. The fact that Dana is so gung-ho about making this a thing, which why?
Yeah, and the thing about it is, at least with even with boxing and with a lot of MMA, is like there has to be at least some level of skill there.
Yes,
it's like you have to at least be competent at all these different disciplines. With power slap, you just go to the bar on a Saturday night and see that shit.
Yeah, exactly, and probably be more entertained, quite frankly. But yeah, last thing I'll say about the UFC, just kind of wrap it up. It's I think it's extremely whorish that you have to have ESPN Plus to even be able to go ahead and be eligible to buy the pay-per-views. I think that's something.
It is redonkulous, and I have my way around it. That is completely legal, but I'm not gonna say it on stream.
Yeah, fair.
Fuck it, I'll say it on stream. So back when I was living in Japan, I still had the UFC app on my PlayStation. So I scrolled into it while I was connected to Japan's Wi-Fi, and there was an option for a subscription. I was like, okay, $35 a month with all of the pay-per-views included. It was like,
okay,
let's
go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Real quick, I actually have a fluff and stuff emergency.
Get a VPN.
That's my wife's concession. I'm gonna have to bail. I'm so sorry.
Oh, no problem, man. No problem, man. Thanks for joining us.
I actually am wearing one of the sponsor shirts we got.
I will change your freaking name at the group chat to Quitter.
Love it. Tell the family hi. But dude, thanks for joining us, man. Appreciate you.
No, absolutely. I love the soapbox. I'll come back just for that and feel all like on the next one.
All right, I'm gonna hold you to that. But have a good rest of your night, man. Thanks for joining us.
Good ego dump for me. Be like the important issues. All right. As always, can't wait to listen to the Gen V discussion.
All right, man.
The soapbox feels good.
I know,
especially on the afternoon tune. I hardly ever get to actually have a soapbox to just bitch and complain outside of therapy, which some things in the room with your counselor is best left in the room.
I could not agree more.
And I finally started, going regularly. Military finally ponied up on my vet benefits and said, okay, you need actual help. So here are some meds. Here's a referral to a civilian.
I think that's something I'm gonna need, maybe in the next couple years. It's definitely something I go back and forth on. What I'm finding more and more is I'll watch a movie I'll share this. Why not? The episode of Abbott where Gregory's talking about how maybe being raised like this didn't actually make me a well-adjusted adult. Maybe it actually hindered me. And I watched that. And I was like, oh man, there's a path my brain wants to go down. Nope. Let's just push that down. We are not.
It's kind of why I can't watch that Tom Hanks and that Tom Hanks Mr. Rogers movie.
That's fair. A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood.
Yeah, Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. I can't watch that movie. I watched it once and said, "Yep, this is hitting a little too close to home." And I don't mean to shit talk my father. He did a wonderful job with the tools he was given. We're much closer now that he's retired from active duty and we're both adults.
Yeah, I feel that, man. You just have those kind of moments where you're like, oh, that was triggering when I was a kid. Oh shit, okay, and you just so I feel you on that, man. last thing I'll say about the whole UFC, I'm happy from a perspective from the UFC just because I see people enjoying it and I like seeing people enjoy shit. I think it's gotten
even me, because I became a fan back in like 2013 when it was like, it was at a point where the UFC was on Fox and they were having events on there, but there was still like this kind of like, this is like the dirty little secret. It was like, oh, you're a fan of that? And this was pre Conor McGregor.
Yeah, he like, say what you will about Conor, but he helped shoot that sport into a different stratosphere. Like we gotta give him that.
Yeah, and there's one thing where it's like, stardom is like you're famous, but there's another thing when you could actually back it up. And for all of Conor's faults as a fighter, he has one of the greatest runs of all time in the sport.
Yeah, he does. So but for me, the sport has gotten like way too Trumpy. Like Dana White's not even hiding it anymore. Like he's at the conventions and shit, and it's just like, God damn it, dude! Like, can you just like can you stop? Like, it's very Vince McMahon in that way. Which that's like, I've talked about Vince McMahon. I'm not gonna do it anymore, but y'all know the fucked up shit Vince McMahon has done. Or been accused of. I don't want to get sued by his like shitty lawyers. Yeah, there you go. But yeah, y'all. So yeah, cool. So that feels good, doesn't it? It feels good to be able to.
It actually does. It feels like I just left my counselor's office.
I did. There you go. That's why I'm here. So with that said, that was very nice. That was a nice discussion. So Gen V, which is a Prime Video exclusive. By the way, y'all, another quick soapbox thing. I am over these fucking Prime ads.
Fuck
Jesus
these
Christ.
Fucking ads. Jeff Bezos, how much money do you need? You are already a trillionaire.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It is ridiculous how like even when you subscribe to I have I was watching Party Down because I have Stars, and I love Party Down, so I was watching that. And even for something that's not even a Prime like exclusive, it's like, oh yeah, here's a couple ads before the show, and it's like, my God, it's like, leave me alone. like I'm already paying someone else for this app. Why do I have to pay dude, stop. You're an asshole.
I'm already paying. This should cover the fucking narrow profit margin that you get from the ad.
Yeah, it's fucking ridiculous. And the thing is, I hate myself because Prime Day's in a couple weeks, and I'm looking at a new gaming new table, a new L desk. So it's like there's a couple. We're part of the problem, but also Bezos is a dick. But Gen V, it's a spinoff of The Boys. Seth Rogen, man, and Evan Goldberg, props to them for we've talked about the comic book medium, but it's wild how between this and Mutant Mayhem and The Boys and Preacher, they found this
and Invincible.
Oh, that's right. That is them too. This incredible treasure trove of hits they've been able to find, which again, this is why as much as I give everyone else, this is why I don't want Marvel to just be a thing. You want other hands in the comic book cookie jar because you get different shit. And this show has been, The Boys has been great, for the careers of several people on there. Jack Quaid obviously being one of the main ones. But going into this, I haven't seen any of The Boys season 4, as I mentioned earlier. So this is really the bridge between season 3 and season 4. I have avoided knowing if there are any connections because full spoilers, by the way, for this.
All right.
I'm assuming there's stuff they have to touch on that got left off. Because Genevieve definitely ends on a cliffhanger where I was like, okay, season 4 kind of needs to talk about at least one or two of these things.
Yeah, and so far, at least in season 4, I'll be vague. The connections that are there from Gen V they've already happened.
Okay. That's good to know. But what I will say about this show is I was very intrigued because for them to go, hey, there's a college where we're basically, farming the next, the superheroes of tomorrow from. I was like, that's a very cool concept.
Yeah, and it's a cool concept on paper, but even leading up to the show, there was like this overwhelming sense, at least in the like comic book and superhero medium, that everybody is just going for cash grab. It is like, how can we milk this IP for everything that it's worth? And The Boys, for its first 3 seasons, it was a massive hit, huge critical success. How can Amazon milk this? And that was my big worry with Gen V.
Same.
And then the first episode happens, and structurally, it is in the same world as The Boys, but in structure, it's a completely different show that is even more entertaining.
Yeah, I will say this show takes some swings that I really was like, damn, I appreciate that you're willing to like go here and that you're being this brazen. When I think about like schools, like superhero schools, like my first thing, like probably the one that comes to mind is probably Titans Academy from DC. That's one of the first ones I go to. More recently, I would go to a Strange Academy, which is the one that Doctor Strange ran. Which if you haven't read Strange Academy, I'd highly recommend you do. There's Avengers Academy. There's been several examples in the comics, but what I really love about this show is we talked about it. Everyone on the show can fucking get it. This is one of the prettiest casts I've seen on a show in quite some time. So there's that. But then 2, the show really from jump, it reminds you very quickly what world you're in, because this starts off with something that I just found so tragic and really depressing, honestly, as far as how the show starts, that I was like, damn, if you're starting like this, like what the hell are you going to show me moving forward? And I will say the show never disappointed me as far as where it took some things. This show just it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable at points, and some of the things that it talks about. The finale of the season has this big giant like school shooting aspect to it that is really dark. Like it's hard enough to see that shown on the news, but adding the superpower element to it really fucks things up, and it really does add this level of like darkness to the show that's already so well enhanced. I do want to talk about this and just kind of get this out of not out of the way, but I just want to address it.
It's kind of hard not to talk about it when discussing Gen V.
Yeah, so Chance Perdomo, who went ahead and played Andre, man, young man was special, man. Like,
yeah, even in his previous like big role prior to this, which he was also in that show with Jazz Sinclair. He was on Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. And he was easily one of the best characters on that show. He brought so much charisma to that. And even in here, he brings so much, presence. He brings so much warmth and depth to this character of Andre, who, because this is a show set at a college, we're like already kind of primed for those stereotypes. It was like with this like main cast, we got the no nonsense student. We got the fuck up party animal who, when we're first introduced to him, is Andre.
Yeah. And what he does at this bar is so
it's
just like
fucked, but
you're like, dude, like, come on, man.
It's fucked, but at the same time, it legitimately was an accident.
It was. It was, but it does show like how, having these powers, like there's very much an X-Men element to this, and how it's handled, and I always like that. I always like that concept of actually having to learn your powers, but it's like when you realize like, oh shit, a stove is hot. That's not good. Like I probably shouldn't touch this with my hand, but these having obviously more dire consequences because of the powers.
Yeah, and real people and with real anatomy are around.
Exactly. So let's just get it. Let's just get the thirsting out of the way. Jazz Sinclair, sup girl. Oh my god, that woman,
bro. The whole cast can get it.
There is this point.
It was like even because this is like a hot topic, especially now with media literacy in the 2020s being what it is. But Jordan Lee, who is a superpowered gender shifter, who's played by London Thor and Derek Liu, both Jordans can get it.
Yeah, like I will say, Derek Liu, very very attractive dude.
Hot.
Fucking gorgeous. I will say London Thor.
I wish I had his hair.
Yeah. Oh, your hair is fantastic, though. To be fair, I feel like you undercut your hair a lot. I think your hair is great, so actually, let's start there. Let's start with them. So,
okay.
My anger on this show, and I use that word very specifically. There's this conversation that Jordan has with their parents at this party. That holy shit!
This show does, because at this point 3 seasons of The Boys have happened. It was like the audience is already clued into that. Superheroes aren't born; they're like babies that are injected with Compound V as infants, and we're already keyed into what kind of parent it takes to allow that thing to happen with Starlight's mom, who is played by I think it's Ann Cusack.
That sounds right.
Yeah, who in the limited appearances we get of her is clearly a stage mom to the T, who's like one of those parents you'd see on Dance Moms who you're like, oh my god, please government, take her kids away. Get her out of here. And we get to really explore that with the third episode here, where it's basically Parents' Day at Godolkin.
Yeah, it's really crazy how, and I've talked about before, but just even not even if you just want to replace superheroes with being a dance mom, or you replace superheroes with being a pastor's kid. There are so many real world examples where you see the pressure that parents put on their kids, and you're just like, this is gonna break this kid. Like this kid,
Yeah, and that's something that I kind of wish they touched on a lot in The Boys, because you get a little bit of that with at least Homelander's backstory, but with Gen V, you really get to dig deep into the kind of generational trauma that being raised under these circumstances with, especially with Andre, who his father, who's played by
Sean Patrick Thomas.
Yes, who's played by Sean Patrick Thomas, was a retired superhero named Polarity, who they have the same powers, and he's very much like an allegory for that legacy football star. It's like he's kind of that Nepo baby.
And I will say too, Sean Patrick Thomas, let's get this brother an A24. Let's get him the Jordan Peele, because
somebody hook him up with Monkey Paw Productions, hook him up with freaking A24. I'd love to see him in a Mike Flanagan thing.
Oh yeah, get him there too, because he's been a dude. I remember seeing Now, it admittedly, I was living through him, but watching Save the Last Dance and be like, oh, a black guy can't get the white girl and not get killed. What a concept. But
dude, now you know how I felt watching Glenn on The Walking Dead.
That's fair. Yeah, that's. I mean, Glenn did get killed in a shit way, by the way, AMC. But I dug.
Hey, man's character had a baby with Lauren Cohan, and he went on to a potentially like Oscar-worthy film career. So worth it. Also made mayhem immediately after The Walking Dead. So worth it.
Shout out to him as well, because he's done some of the best, my favorite work in the last decade between Beef and Minari alone. Like he's had a great career, so like good on him. But one thing about this show, and I think you bring up a very good point, how The Boys doesn't really touch on that because we're dealing with these people as adults.
Like, the whole point of The Boys is like the Soups are the villains. It's like The Boys, Huey, Frenchie, Mother to Milk, Butcher, they're the underdogs versus all the Soups. They're the people that we're conditioned to root against. And with Gen V, we get to see that other side of it. It's like, because a like kind of fun thing with Gen V is like, we already know how fucked up Soups are in this universe.
Yes, absolutely.
We are keyed into it. And part of the fun of Gen V is watching all of these young men and women who have grown up with the legend, who have grown up believing all the propaganda and the hype that they see around the superheroes in the mainstream culture. A lot of the fun is seeing them get a peek behind the curtain.
Yeah, and that peak is it's grim as hell.
The heartbreaking moment in the pilot is when Jazz Sinclair, who's Marie, who legitimately actually saves somebody's life in this whole incident we talked about with Andre, and she's pulled into the dean's office, who's Professor Brink, who's played by Clancy Brown.
Fuck yeah!
It's like, yeah, you save somebody, but you'll probably save more people than most Soups do in their entire lives, but you're expelled.
Yeah, so it's really funny because I saw Clancy Brown, and I first off, I to borrow the wrestling term, I marked out. I was like, oh my god, let's go, Clancy Brown. I was like, I can't wait to see what he does this season. And then in episode 1's like, well, goodbye, Clancy Brown.
And for me, The Boys pilot is like one of the best first episodes of television of all time.
Agreed.
And I am also there with Gen V.
Yeah.
Gen V is one of my favorite pilots because, one, in context of The Boys, you're conditioned to, every time you see a Soup character, every time you get to like the character that they are hyping up, you're expecting them to be a monster.
Yes, exactly.
And that's especially in the case with Luke Reardon, who's played by aka Golden Boy, who's played by Patrick Schwarzenegger, which, speaking of Nepo babies.
So wild.
But the entire time we're expecting Luke to be this like monster character. We're expecting, him be a psychopath, basically Homelander 2.0. And the real subversion of expectation is Luke and most of like the other Soup characters we're introduced to in this first episode, they're like kind of nice people.
Yeah.
Like Luke is just a cool dude.
Yeah, Luke is someone you would have a beer with or go to a game with. You'd be like, man, like I was it's funny. I was talking about I Love You Man the other day because I was just rewatching that. I fucking love that movie. Mm-hmm. And I was telling Alea, one of my to go a little therapy driven here. One thing that I always get really bummed out about, because it's happened recently, especially where I like meet a guy friend and I'm like Paul Rudd, and I'm excited. I'm like, oh, cool guy friend, and then they just like stop talking to me, or they end up being an asshole, and I'm like, oh, that sucks. And so I was telling her why the chat is so great, because like there are multiple dudes in here, you, Bradley, Brandon, etc. Where I'm like, oh my god, these guys are so cool, and you see Golden Boy, and you're like, man, like. That's a guy like
the entire time you're waiting for the shoe to drop, because even in the Boys pilot, it was like, it's like most of the superstar monsters, but even in the pilot they like say that Homelander is like the one exception. It's like he doesn't smoke, he doesn't drink, he doesn't do none of that shit, and then the like final scene of that episode happens.
Yeah, and then you're like, oh shit, never mind. But yeah, Golden Boy just seems cool, and what's so crazy about like at the end where he goes ahead and he kills himself, you're like holy shit, what, why?
Sorry, the term is die by suicide now.
That's right. It's crazy though, because as you're watching the show, you're like, okay, like he was winning, like, because there's this point where he just snaps and he's chasing Marie like it's like some zombies in Resident Evil 4, and you're just like I was like smoking in a scary movie. I was like, run, bitch, run! like get the fuck away from me.
Which also leads into this great fight scene between Jordan, who's like the actual hero, and getting to see their powers and how they showcase it, and seeing the like different dynamics between the two different genders. There's like male Jordan, he's like invulnerable, he's like has super strength, he can like absorb kinetic energy, and female Jordan can like shoot like kinetic energy blasts.
Yeah, and I really like that contrast between their two power sets. But to your point, they're pissed off because the way that this is eventually spun is that Marie went ahead and saved
it's Marie and Andre who fought off Golden Boy.
Yeah, which is not what happened at all.
And like the whole thing is like, and even they say it is like, it's like the bi-gender soup with pronoun fuckery. Try selling that to Jacksonville.
And when they say it, you're like, oh,
it's like that's fucked, but
true too.
Goddamn, and even now is like, because season 4 The Boys is kind of getting a lot of hate with a lot of less enlightened audiences about being very woke and poking too much fun at the right. I feel like Gen V is poking a lot of fun at the left, and like this very performative like inclusivity that they strive for.
Yeah, it's really funny how like people just want to get on that soapbox, and of course throw the woke word around, because that's easier to say than I'm a racist, but but I appreciate the way that the show goes into Marie's struggle as well, being a black woman trying, like, I mean, being a woman is hard enough. Being a person of color as a woman, holy shit.
I mean, the show's prologue, it opens with the day A Train got signed to the 7, and you get a little cameo from Elizabeth Shue. It's like, yep, we have a black hero on the 7, and that's how we're in a post-racism world.
And you're just like, oh, like, I remember, like, so first off, I laughed way too hard at that, and then I got really sad, and then it took me back to when, I still remember this. I can't remember the guy who said it, but it was, I think it was like right after Obama's first turn, and he was trying to go for a second, and Fox News was like, racism is on its last leg, and it cuts to Jon Stewart immediately, and he's like, pretty strong fucking leg, and he's like, I'm pretty sure it's a bionic leg, and I was like, and like, A, hilarious, but then B, really sad, because you go like, yeah, he's not wrong, like that, and minorities have heard that shit for years, like racism, it's like, come on, it's going away, and it's like, no, dude, it's not. And
dude, even because I talked about it on this show, and also mine on the Afternoon Tune with X-Men 97, is like, with that third episode where you have the Executioner just doing that rant of, what I hate most about you mutants, it's your whining. It's like, yeah, you're whining about how you have it so hard, but normal people have it hard too. And it's like, there is not one person of color or one like somebody in LGBTQ who has not heard those words verbatim.
Yeah.
In their life.
Exactly. Or some like small shuffling of the phrase. Like it yeah, that's like straight out of the racism playbook. And the way that Marie, like, it's so fascinating because I kept going back and forth from Marie because you find out why she's so damaged and what happened with her parents. And man, that opening is tragic as fuck.
And that's, I think, the beautiful dance that this show pulls off is that you're immediately introduced to Marie, and you're immediately introduced to her struggle. And when she does things that are like kind of fucked, there's like throwing Jordan under the bus, taking all the credit for fighting Golden Boy. It's like, this is fucked, but I understand.
Yeah, like the positions she's being put in, it's like she barely avoided.
And I talk about this, and it's kind of touched on with Jordan's character about that like pressure to be the model minority. It's like, we have that stereotype as like Asian kids is like, you get an A- in math, and it's like you move out of the house.
Yeah, but I mean, as someone who's like had friends like that throughout school, though, like I still remember one of my friends getting a B, and she fucking cried like at lunch like the whole time, and she was like, and I was like, what's wrong? She's like, my parents are gonna be so mad. And
dude, I didn't learn that C's were okay until college. It's like the first time I got a C, it was like, oh my, it was like, I think it was in like chemistry in college. I was like, oh my god, if I show my parents this, they're gonna be so mad. And it's like, you're in college, we don't give a shit.
Yeah, it's like, oh, the grades come to my mailbox. Awesome. I don't need to like, I still remember in 5th grade getting a C in penmanship and being fucking destroyed. I was like, my writing looks like shit. I will not front. That's why I type 90 words a minute. But I remember being like, what the fuck? A C? Like, you're gonna judge me for how I fucking write, you asshole? Like,
I mean, speaking as somebody who works in IT, who a lot of our job is reliant on the notes left by people who have worked on previous issues, penmanship is important.
Again, that's why I type everything. Like, it's like even
people, dude, I work at IT. We are lazy by nature.
That's fair.
You think I'm gonna write something down and then hours later, after the issue's been fixed, just open up like Microsoft Word or Notepad and type all of that up?
Oh, see, that's why I literally
fuck out of here.
That's literally why I have a sticky notes app on my computer that I constantly have open. So if I need to take a note of something real quick, I can just do it. Because
I work in IT and I'm in the military. So all of my personal electronics, the things that I mostly use my notes for,
that's fair.
Can't have them in the office.
Yeah, fair enough. But Marie, like the way that Marie's being like threatened on shit too, like she's so between a rock and a hard place, and it does go into that whole kind of dynamic of like, can you change the machine from within if you're a part of the machine?
And something that is touched on a lot in media, especially after this like whole wave of police violence in a show like Brooklyn Nine-Nine. It was like, try to work your way up to like change the system within, but by the time you get to a place where you've made so many moral compromises that you forgot what you're fighting for.
And that's like that is such the complexities of that, because Marie does have to work within the system. Like there's a point where, I don't want to give this part away, but there's a cameo from someone from the Boys universe that I was like, oh shit, let's go. And then when you realize how this character actually relates to Marie, I was like, oh, that's clever. Okay.
Dude, we're in full spoilers.
You're right. Duh.
Yeah, we can dig into it. It's like a big part is like in the penultimate episode is like we get a cameo from Victoria Newman, who's played by Claudia Dumi, which
who's up, girl?
God damn, I hate you, Jack Quaid.
What a good-looking couple, though. Like, what a good-looking couple, though, to be fair. Like,
but we get the revelation in this show that Marie's powers of hemokinesis, they're the exact same as Newman's. They have the same power set, and that's why Newman's been her benefactor. That's why she was able to go to Godolphin at all.
Which was a clever as fuck way to go ahead and get around that, because they kind of put the benefactor thing out there, and then they don't mention it for an episode or two, but then they bring it back up, and
and we talk about, it was like separating herself from the boys show proper. It was like, we could make the exact same show but just younger, but structurally the show is a mystery first off.
So but I really love the way they work that benefactor thing in there, and that's a very interesting thread that they can.
But the time they bring it back up, you've almost forgot about it because so much shit has gone on.
So that's the thing I will say about this show, is that it's very dense, and I mean that as a compliment. We haven't even touched on her yet, but I'll bring her up. Lizzie Broadway, which sup girl, like that.
I love Lizzie Broadway on this show, and I'm a little envious that she is more jacked than I will ever be.
She's cut, man. Like I was like, A, good on you. B, she has this very like laid back, like this is the girl.
If this is like a college movie, if this is like a YA, like a college set movie, she's basically, if she were a dude, she would have been played by Jonah Hill.
That's true. That's true. She's that girl that I would meet at a party, and she would be like, "Oh yeah, I listen to Silver Sun Pickups too," and I'd be like, "Oh my god, no way!" Like,
hey, you want to go back to my room?
Yeah, right. But
because in this show, a lot of the powers, and I think this is like a beautiful thing about superhero media, you can use a person's power set to touch on deeper issues. Like with Marie, a way that she's able to like control blood is she has to cut herself, and that's a very beautiful and very haunting and potentially very triggering metaphor for self-harm. And with Emma, who's played by Lizzie Broadway, she's able to like shrink and alter her size, but she basically has to purge in order to get tiny.
The way that they explore that was something. You mentioned the parents episode. The fact that she says that her mom was going to taught her how. I was like, Jesus.
I have never hit a woman in my life outside of the gym and the context of I'm training with somebody. I wanted to fight her mom.
Oh yeah, it's
like even before the revelation, it was like she taught me how to do it. It's like the way she talks to Emma, the way she like belittles her is like, "Are you keeping your food log? Are you gotta keep it? You gotta keep your calorie intake." It's like, fuck you. I hope you get hit by a bus.
That scene is so fucked too, because everything she's saying is just a constant like reminder of her purging, and you're just like, oh my god, you're like, shut up. Like it really is insane how that whole conversation goes. And the way they pitch this reality show to her about like, it's going to be about women's issues, but just kidding.
and even more so with that like performative like wokeness and that performative inclusivity. It's like we're putting such a highlight on mental health and eating disorders. It reminded me of that line in Bodies. It was like, mental health is so important. I have body dysmorphia. Oh my god, shut the fuck up.
Yeah. It's such a dark moment, and one thing I really
it's so dark, but something that this and The Boys proper never forgets to do, and that they always end it on a joke. It's like they never forget. They always dance this line of when to have a laugh, when to actually sit and stew on the emotion of the scene?
I would say for me currently, it's probably my favorite season. I mean, I'll count the other 3 seasons of The Boys, but I would say this is my second favorite season, right behind season 2. I thought the humor was actually amazing in this one. This is actually probably my favorite from a humor perspective, just because I mean, we haven't even gotten to him yet. The character Sam, but played by Asa Gurman. But there's a point where he's fucking Emma, and she turns into a puppet. Yeah, and I was like, holy, like, and it just comes from nowhere. I was like, holy shit, what? Like, it caught me so off guard in the best way. And then I remember I had to pause the episode for a second, just like, wow, he in his mind he was fucking a puppet. This is some shit. And
man busted a nut inside of Miss Piggy.
Yeah, you're just like, oh my god, like what the fuck? Like, and there are several moments like that where you're just like, this is kind of nuts. There's a great callback, and I don't want to spoil this one just because it's fun, but
okay.
There's a the guy who's like the in charge of the hall and making sure everyone gets where they're supposed to go. A great callback to who his their dad is. And I was just like, wow.
And that's Maverick, who we were introduced to very briefly in the season 2 premiere. He's a translucent son.
Yeah, and that whole revelation and just how terrible they are, because man, they're terrible. Like, from the shit they do.
So fucked. And something that I think is in one of my favorite scenes of the show, it's like because there is a romance between Marie and Jordan. Yes. And you know, every time they get intimate with each other, Jordan, you know, at least when they're conscious, Jordan like shifts back into being the male. And yeah, it's a conversation that he has with Maverick. It's like, yeah, I went turned into a boy because I thought that's what she would want. I was like, you know, did you ask her about that? because something I think is danced beautifully, and a thing that I talked about within my channel's review of Mean Girls, the 2004 movie, is like Marie has chemistry and clearly has an attraction with both versions of Jordan, with both the male and the female version, which,
who could blame?
Let's be honest, who wouldn't?
Yeah, honestly. Yeah.
It's like London Thor. Oh my god, damn.
Yeah. But I love that concept too, because that's something Jordan has never had presented to them. Like they I mean, their parents are saying we prefer the boy version of you.
And that touches on you know, because especially when the show came out, generational trauma, especially with the Asian children. That's like a whole thing. It was like, if you're an Asian parent, it's like, if you have a male, it's like, it's the firstborn son. It's like, great.
Yeah. I mean, I'll speak to it from the Black perspective. I mean, you know, I remember, you know, one of the last conversations I had with my dad, not to get too heavy, but talking to him about how like you can hug someone, that like, that's not a bad thing, you know, and I think that's like, even in like the 2000s, it was definitely weird for like men to hug each other. Now it's definitely way more accepted, but especially with Black, it was like showing any sort of you know, I've talked about it on the show before, but you know, the amount of times I've been, you know, called the F word or told I was gay just because of you know, showing emotion, but how much that's a real issue in the Black with Black men about actually being able to show emotion and crying. Not to steal a bit from Bill Burr, you know, talking about how that's why men always have heart attacks, because they can't accept that a puppy is cute or anything like that, you know, and it's like, and it's funny, but it's like,
dude, I'm an Asian man who's like kind of fit, who wears jeans that are a little bit too tight and spends way too much time combing his hair. You think I haven't heard the same shit?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I know you have. Like our conversation, like y'all, if you knew how much Nick and I would just have talked about shoes, like at great length.
I got like an entire I'll shift the camera a little bit. I have like an entire like corners of my wall that are just devoted to sneakers.
Oh, that's sexy. I won't tilt my camera, but I have clear cases for my shoes as well. So, but I really I love the way that's brought up, because Jordan, to the point of Marie just really likes Jordan, and I love that Emma.
Yeah, it starts from, you know, that kind of classic young adult fiction trope of enemies to lovers. But the way it's presented here, it feels so much more organic. It's like because both Marie and Jordan, at their core, they want to be good people. They want to help.
They do.
They want to be the closest thing to at least in the boys' example, to Starlight. They want to be a genuine hero.
Yeah, and I'll say myself, because we haven't talked about her yet. Maddie Phillips, she plays Kate, and I'm just gonna say
also sup, but
yeah. but I will say, man, so when you find out that she's been helping the school, the way that revelation is brought up is so fucking dark. Like, it's such a oh shit sort of moment, because her power is the ability to go ahead and make people remember shit and forget shit.
Yeah, she basically has a mind control, but she can only do it if she's physically touching that person.
Yeah, so it's kind of like a rogue kind of Xavier kind of hybrid, which I actually thought was clever, the way that you have to have the touch to go ahead and use the power. I thought that was actually...
because when you're first introduced to Kate, she's wearing gloves, and you kind of don't really realize why.
And then once you realize, you're like, oh, okay, this makes sense. So one thing I will say is, you know, and I've talked about on the pod before, you know, really about like boundaries you can cross with someone you love and someone that you care about. And there's a boundary that Kate crosses that I just went, girl, you can't do that shit. Like, it's one of those things where you would punch your friend in the face if they did this shit, because what...
and like the whole mystery of the show, in the first episode, Golden Boy murders Brink in his office. And the whole mystery of the show is like, why did he do it? Because even in the moments we get with him in the pilot, he's like having these like visions. He's like seeing the woods, which is the underground lab where Godolkin experiments on soups. And we're wondering, all right, what was it that made him snap?
And when you find out why he snapped, you're like, oh,
they've been like keeping his brother Sam prisoner in there, and they've been like using his DNA to make Luke stronger. And every time he's gone down into the woods, Dean Shetty, who is played by Shelley Kahn, sup?
Very
she's been manipulating Kate into basically just making Golden Boy forget.
Yeah, and the thing about this too is, so I mean fuck it, I'm here, I'll talk about it. There's a bar here in town called 5 Star, and it has this very bad reputation for women constantly getting roofied. Like, I've had several friends, unfortunately, that have been roofied there, and things have been brought up to management, and they basically like keep the same bartenders, don't give a shit, because they can coast on the reputation. And the fact that they have someone in Kate who has gotten to the point that she's okay with essentially roofing these people over and over and over again, given the context of college too, given that setting, it's really fucked when you think about it. And
but that's the line the show dances, because when you think about it, it's like Kate accidentally like sent her brother to run away when he was like 6 on accident. And since then, her parents have never touched her and kept her locked in a room.
Which is insane.
And the first person that gave her any kind of attention and affection was Shetty.
Yeah.
And at that point, you're basically just, okay, I'm ride or die with you, the only positive parental figure in my life.
Which is like, so.
I'm not condoning Kate's actions.
Oh, of course not.
No, I'm the same way with her as I am with Nate Jacobs on Euphoria. For the people listening who've
watched okay.
Like,
okay,
you are a fucking monster.
Yeah,
but I understand.
It's so. I mean, to tie it back to myself a little bit. I know, like, one of the first things I did once I got the vaccine, the first time, once we were able to actually get out of lockdown and like see people, is like I hugged Alea like 30 times, and then I basically had friends come over. I basically had friends, like, even if they were just stopping off to get Dutch Bros, I'd be like, "Do you want to stop by and just give me a hug?" Like, because I hadn't had a hug in like 18 fucking months, and so it was just like, so from that perspective, I was like, oh girl, like, to your point, Nick, having someone who actually, like, the fact that she went to go put her gloves on, she's like, no, I trust you, and she gave her a hug, and you're like, oh shit. And like the moment that happened, you realize like, oh yeah, she's ride or die for her, no matter what happens. And it's very fascinating because it does kind of play, not to the same degree, but it does have those X-Men 97 conversations where you're like, okay.
Yeah, the whole conversation between Gambit and Rogue, and that whole love triangle with Magneto.
Yeah, like it's like, okay, so you understand it, but they have this whole conversation. And one thing I love about this is that everyone who, for the most part, who's in a power of authority is just a human. Like, no one is super powered. And then you realize, once you learn about the Woods, you're like, oh, that's done very much by design. There's a reason why you don't want.
Yeah, there's a reason that these kids in the lab are there.
Yeah, and that in particular,
that montage is horrifying.
Some dark shit.
It's set to an absolute banger with Desperado.
I mean, true. So that is one thing too. I think the choice of music is probably the best in a season for me.
With the boys, they're kind of really stuck to that like classic rock, or because Butcher is like one of the main characters on there, is like this British punk rock era. But with Gen V, you get to experiment a lot more.
Yes.
And one of the first like big ones is they had Phoebe Bridgers' cover of Nothing Else Matters.
Yeah, so which was great too. But I think the stuff in the Woods, that shit is really dark. Like there's some great just moments of gore and horror, like really more so horror than even I would say any other season of The Boys. There's
especially with this. With the whole linchpin of this season, which plays a factor in season 4 of The Boys, of this virus that is specifically designed to kill soups.
Yeah, it's really wild how that goes ahead and breaks down. I will say too, just because I do want to talk about Sam a little bit. I love his portrayal of Sam. Like, he's such a tragic character, and realizing that his brother, like what his brother went through and their connection, and the fact that Sam really does turn basically into Magneto, but you understand.
The way it's set up, because when he gets freed, it's like the first time he's ever out in the world, and just like being in the hallways at Godolkin, it's the first time he's ever been around other soups. The first time he's been around people that are like him. It just happens to be the fact that those people are fucking monsters also.
Yeah, absolutely. And
like The main one is this character Rufus, who's played by I'm trying to find him here.
Alexander Calvert.
Yeah, Alexander Calvert, who has played a character very similar to this in other things. He was like the main crush in that movie, Edge of 17.
Yeah, which he's great. That was my favorite film of the year. Love that.
I love that movie too. Do with that information what you will.
Yeah. We're not draking it up here. We just like the movie.
But yeah, it's like it just so happens that the first time Sam's out in the world, he meets Rufus, who is a monster and is also has psychic powers and has clearly used that to SA other women on this campus.
Oh yeah, no, Rufus is a fucking monster.
But he gets his comeuppance in the best way possible.
Yeah, so that's the thing I will say is, man, if you have a dick, you should not exist in the boys universe. Like I would be. Man, I'd be covered. I'd be walking around with my hands over my crotch, like reverse Wakanda. Because like, man,
I would wear a fucking cortosis chastity belt if I could.
But also, don't be an SA piece of shit, and you'll probably be fine. And man, yeah, his comeuppance is fucking wonderful. Couple more things I want to shout out here before we get to final ratings. The finale, when Homelander shows up.
Oh,
that's such a.
I love it because at this point, Marie, Jordan, Andre, all of our like hero characters, they still think that everything they've heard about the 7 on the news, they all think that's still true. They think that they're, these paragons of justice. And I love that little detail. It was like you get Homelander's theme, and the longer it goes on, the more discordant it gets, the more out of tune it plays.
And you're just like, oh shit.
It's like even as an audience member, it's like, because we already know how fucked up he is. It was like, oh no. You're bad ape. I was like, oh no. Oh no.
The way they tie back the flight to this show too, I thought was so well done. Like
brilliant.
Yeah,
because the whole virus plot of the show is like, it was sanctioned by VOD. It was meant to be a way that they could control suits, which understandably they want to invest in. It was like, you got a motherfucker like Homelander around, you got to find a way to control him, or at least like make him heal. But Shetty is like, how sick can we make her?
Exactly.
Like, make it airborne. And the whole twist with Shetty is that her husband and her daughter were on Flight 37, which is the flight that was in the first season of The Boys, the flight that, they killed all the terrorists on, but Homelander let crash and let everyone die.
That was maybe the first scene I remember going like, oh shit, like we are not.
It didn't help that I basically binged the entire first season of The Boys as I was on my flight to Japan.
Oh, Jesus Christ. God.
Because the show dropped during that week, and it was like, okay, I've heard good things about this show. It was like, I like the first issue of the comic I read.
Oh, Nick. That's like I had to get a review done, so I actually remember I reviewed Denzel's Flight, and I had like a 6-hour flight like the next day. I remember just like getting on the plane being like, this was a stupid decision, because I just
bro, try 13 hours and just stewing on The Boys.
I don't like that. but yeah, Homelander, the finale is like, we see Marie, Emma, and then Jordan, right? All
Jordan and Andre.
Oh, and Andre, that's right. All locked up in this white room, no walls, no windows, and we cut to the TV and we see that Kate and Sam have been very much propped up by Vought as the heroes who stopped
the new Guardians of Godolphin.
Which, oh man, that shit.
Yeah, it's like when you think about the people that are in that room, it's racially motivated.
Oh, it absolutely is. Like, you're just like the irony too of Homelander, like because something that Marie does is she makes Kate's arm go bye-bye, which was something that caught me so off guard. I was like, holy fuck.
Like,
and like
and it's not like a caught off guard as like you didn't know it was possible, because at this point we already know that she has the same head popper powers as Newman.
Yeah.
It's like, we know that, she might pop something.
Yeah, I had a joke, but I'm gonna be
she can pop.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. but
I'm a man in a committed relationship. I'm not finishing that joke.
Yeah, we're trying to be good, but it's one of those moments that when it happens, I actually had to pause it because I was like, "Holy fuck!" Because again, to your point, she can do it.
It's also that thing. It was like, because a big charm of this first season is Marie learning the extent of her powers. It was like it starts with that first episode where we have this woman who's like has an artery nick, she's bleeding out, she's going to die, but Marie is able to stop that bleeding. It's like she's able to like sense things in somebody's blood. She's able to tell that Victoria Newman is also a soup. She's able to like sense the tracker that Vought put in her.
Yeah, that tracker shit was
that was fucked, and and I rewatched the show with my partner, and that was one of the biggest gut punches. Still, it was like, fuck.
Yeah,
it was like you don't even realize that Kate took off her glove until it's too late.
Yeah, and that's where you're just like, God damn, like it's one of these shows that it kept surprising me, and that's the biggest compliment I can give it. I binged this over 3 days with Leia, and outside of the fucking ads, again, fuck you, Bezos. This viewing experience, man, like this made me like, to say that this made me happy is a weird way to phrase it, but like creatively, it made me really happy because it just shows what you can do within this medium. Again, not everything needs to be Marvel, because you're not going to get shit like this from Marvel. Like, you're not going to get arms exploding.
It's like the beautiful thing about competition, especially when it comes to comic book media, is you can do different things. It's like,
exactly,
Invincible would not work if it was trying to ape Marvel.
No, absolutely not.
Wouldn't work without this like mature R-rated tone. It's like Adam McKay, he's been like talking about in interviews, like he tried to get a Boys movie made back in like 2008, but so much of the charm of the Boys and Gen V, to an extent, a lot of that doesn't work without the boom of the superhero movie.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm so happy that it feels like, so the thing that will be interesting as we get the final thoughts is, do we get a Gen V season 2 in the middle of the Boy, like before the Boys season 5?
That's the interesting thing, because prior to Chance Perdoma's passing, it was like, structurally, I would say, okay, you get Boys season 4, you get Gen V, you get tying all those threads together, and then the Boys season 5, the final season, is the crossover between these two shows. But Andre was such a pivotal character, and they were setting up so many threads for him in season 2. The threads that are set up are kind of final.
Yeah.
But
and I believe they said they're not recasting. They're just like,
and it's like, the threads are so final that you can get away with it.
Yeah.
With just like writing him out of the show. But at the same time, it's like, how do you make that person, how do you honor that person's life and his legacy, especially on the show? And that when I saw to bring comparison with Black Panther Wakanda Forever. It's like,
Yeah.
How do you honor this person while also telling your own story within the context of this medium?
Yeah, and honestly, I know, like, I've had people yell at me about my take on it, where I was like, look, I would have gone like T'Chaka, I would have.
I
Good.
I sobbed like a baby when I saw.
Oh, same. I've rewatched it a couple times since, and I will say, I still think it's one of the most clever workarounds that they could have done, because it fit in the context of the snap, and that T'Challa would know he had a kid, and you're just like, okay, this actually makes sense within the canon you set up. Plus, it works to, as Kevin Feige being and Ryan Coogler being hilariously passive aggressive, like, stop talking about not getting the vaccines, you asshole.
It's like fuck around and find out.
Seriously, like, we will write in the script that Wakanda can age kids, and we will have you, like, we will kill Shuri so quick. But to your point, I think you're right, man, because I do think, like, because, like, I don't know what you do here. So what I will simply say is, I hope that the writers can figure out a way to honor him without, and it's such a tough thing to say, because, like,
and even the way the show is, like, by the end of the season, Kate is your main antagonist. Kate is the villain of Gen V. And so much of her story is tied with Andre. It was like they were lovers during the show, and even before Golden Boy died, they were having an affair before that. It was like that like level of betrayal from a person that you thought you loved. It was like so much dramatic meat is in that story. It's like
it sucks, man. Like, I mean, obviously because he was so young, but I mean, from the business perspective of, like, what the fuck do we do? So I hope they have a plan. I hope Gen V season 2 isn't just off the books because of that. But at the same time, if they don't revisit this world, I would understand. And if you want to use the Boys season 5 part of it to kind of wrap up those loose ends, I think there's multiple directions you could go. So I just hope they have an idea of what they want to do. But getting to my final thoughts here, this is a show for me that got better as it went on, which is really the biggest compliment I can say. And this does something that I will say 2 or 3 of the Marvel shows have failed to do. It have a finale that's under an hour that actually feels like it wrapped everything up. I have to give them credit for that, because that is one of my biggest gripes with Secret Invasion. It's one of my biggest gripes with Moon Knight. I just think that, both of those are rushed. But the finale was like 42 minutes, and I was like, wow, you wrapped everything up in a way that actually went son of a bitch. Okay, and let me say about that finale, there is no fluff in that finale. They hit the ground running in that finale. I was like, oh shit, here we go. Like,
there is no fat to trim at all in this season. And that's something that as much as I'm liking it right now, watching it with something like The Acolyte, it's like the 4th episode, you can basically just cut to like a 20-minute prologue and you get everything that you need in episode 4 and 5.
Okay. But I gotta give them all the credit in the world, because the first like 2 or 3 episodes are basically an hour, and then it's like 50 minutes, 45 minutes, and then like 38 minutes, something like that. But like I said, when this wrapped up, I was like, okay, I'm more excited for season 4 of The Boys. You get a great Butcher cameo, which I was just like, I was like, yes, let's go. Like, gimme. Love that. And then I can't think of her name, but Butcher's like handler. There's a great cameo from her. Yeah. Thank you. That cameo I thought was fucking fantastic in that whole conversation. So I went back and I watched a couple episodes, and I don't really have a complaint. Like, I know that's boring when it comes to criticism, but I really don't have a gripe. I was like, wow, I fucking dig this a lot. I will say too, I appreciate that the show puts these warnings about self-harm and about SA, like before the episode plays, just warning you, like, if you're triggered by this,
I mean, you could do a 13 Reasons Why and not do it until you get all the backlash.
I mean, oh, that's right. That was a thing. Yeah. So, fuck, I did forget about that. So, I mean, I would tell people, like, those warnings aren't there just to cover their ass. Like, there are some depictions that are rough.
It's like,
so,
and the depictions that are here, they're not just performative of like, hey, look, we got a character that is like self-harming or like has an eating disorder. It's like really delving into the roots of what an affliction like that looks like, and the root causes of it, which to me is like even more like dancing that line of trigger.
Yeah, no, agreed. So, but I thought this show, it's just handled beautifully. There's a lot of plates in the air. There's a lot that they're dancing with, and I'm just like, God damn. And yet I thought everything wrapped up in a way that I just went, wow, this works. You stuck the landing. Hell yeah. We didn't get a chance to talk about them, but there's this kind of like shock jock news reporter guy that is such a piece of shit. I was like, oh my God.
You're talking to Cameron Coleman, who's played by Matthew Edison.
Oh my God.
Who's basically this world version of Tucker Carlson.
Yeah, essentially. Yeah, oh my God, he's such a douchebag. But credit to him, because he nailed the fucking role. Like, he nailed being a douche. But this show just this show was just excellent. Like straight up, it was excellent, and it makes me more excited to watch season 4 of The Boys and see how they wrap things up. I'm very curious about that. Again, all I know is that apparently Homelander is going off, and I'm like, oh God.
Yeah, but what else is new?
I mean, yeah, also true. So I'm very curious to see, what's going on once we get there. But I'll be real, y'all. I just binged like season 1 of The Bear. I just need to not watch things. I need a little break.
Dude, yeah. I got into like 3 episodes of season 3 of The Bear, and I was like, okay, I need a break for a minute.
Yeah, I'm realizing that's a show I cannot smoke when I watch, because it just makes me anxious, and I'm just like, this is a waste of weed. Like, I need to still oh man, that show just stressing me out. But yeah, fan-fucking-tastic for this show. I recommend it with some caveats, because again, that there are some things, like in the same way that
a lot of the dramatic beats, a lot of jokes, a lot of the kind of whole setup of the show, a lot of it is dependent on having watched The Boys.
Yeah. So, I mean, I would definitely say, like, I mean, you really do need to watch like the first 3 seasons to appreciate this, because there are so many connections to that world that I think will be lost on you if you don't. Before I throw it to you real quick, 2 just visual gags that made me laugh. There are these 2 posters. One of them that says Homelander, "It's super to be honest," which I was just like, Jesus Christ. And then the other one. And then the other one for the deep being honors doing the right thing when no one is watching. It's
my favorite gag is like they're hyping up Godolkin University and they're hyping up the previous graduates. It's like Queen Maeve, it's like number 1, A Train, number 2, The Deep, number 6. It's like, dude wasn't even in the top 5.
Yeah, it's just like, goddamn. Yeah, that shit. The show just works, y'all, and it's really great. Oh yeah, and then the other thing I will throw out. I think it is Emma who I think delivers the line where she goes, I'm like PewDiePie without the Nazi shit." I was like, okay, that's a great fucking. I was like, okay, like show, you're good. So yeah, I really enjoyed the show so much, and just Oh yeah, and then there's one girl who says, "Oh yeah, suck that tail, Nancy Reagan that shit." And I was actually mid bong hit, and I actually was like coughing for like 3 minutes straight. I was like, "Holy fuck!" Like the show has no shame, and I really appreciate that. But yeah, y'all, fan fucking tastic. Again, please pay attention to the warnings beforehand. If that stuff is triggering to you, just be aware. But yeah, absolutely love this show. Yeah, Nick, your final thoughts and grades, sir.
Fuck, I fucking adored this show. Watching the pilot back when it first premiered, I was like, had very much those like cynical eyes. It was like, okay, this is just, cash grab for, it was like just cashing in on the fame of the boys and the hype of that show. It was like, all right, you're doing spin-offs now. This is like, okay, this is the beginning of downfall of The Walking Dead. And son of a bitch, those first 3 episodes of this show are fucking incredible, and the momentum doesn't stop. It's like when you're making a spin-off of an already popular show, it's like the biggest thing you have to do is create your own identity outside of the show that you're originating from.
Yeah.
It's like Angel did it beautifully with Buffy, and this show does it the same way with the boys. It was like every character is beautiful, is incredibly compelling. Jazz Sinclair, I wasn't a fan of her off of Chilling Adventures of Sabrina because she was on that show as well. I wasn't a fan of her character or her performance, but goddamn, she turned me around on this show. She is incredible in this. Chance Perdomo is like gone too soon.
Yeah,
Lizzie Broadway, amazing. Both versions of Jordan with London Thor and Derek Liu are awesome. Both bring different elements to the character, but are still the same person at their core, which is a very difficult thing to do, especially when you have multiple actors playing the same character. But the mystery itself is compelling. It leaves enough for like Easter eggs and threads that are followed up, I think, fairly well in season 4 of The Boys so far. But you can almost watch this show on its own and still be compelled. And just how much fun I had. This show's fan-fucking-tastic.
Oh, yeah.
This is peak television for me.
Yeah. I will say too, just real quick. I know we talked about him, but that Schwarzenegger, man, like the fact
it was like, yeah, it was like he was so good in his like initial role in the pilot. I was a little bit sad. It was like, oh, you're killing him.
Yeah, but they do a good job of like using flashbacks and stuff so that his presence still is felt on the show. But I definitely was kind of like, oh fuck, all right, you're gone.
It's like a weird case. It was like he is arguably the most important character on the show, at least plot and story wise, but he's barely in it.
Yeah, it's fucking wild, but yeah. So fan fucking tactics from both of us for Gen V season 1. All right, y'all. So we're gonna go ahead and get out of here. As far as what's coming up, God, what is coming up? I think I'm guest hosting on the Afternoon Tune this weekend. I think. I will keep y'all updated on that, but I'm pretty sure I am. So I should be on there Saturday night, talking about my favorite films of the year so far. I'm gonna be back on the 7th, so that's gonna be Sunday. I'm gonna be back on at 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern to talk about Despicable Me 4 and review Maxine. And then on this upcoming Monday, I'll be on at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific, to go ahead and do my MCU wish list. Just 10 things I want from the MCU moving forward as we head into Wolverine and Deadpool, Deadpool and Wolverine, whatever. As we head into that.
Semantics.
Yeah, exactly. As far as stuff coming down the pipeline, I'm going to have reviews up for on the main channels. You can find me on YouTube at The Real Pineapple. That's REEL Pineapple. You can follow me on Twitch at twitch.tv/The Real Pineapple. Go ahead and like, share, subscribe, and rate the show. Definitely helps me out, helps the pod out. You can find The Real Pineapple on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Podbean, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Amazon Music, TuneUp, and Samsung Podcasts at The Real Pineapple. You can go ahead and follow me on Instagram, the Twitter, and TikTok at JHunter Real Pineapple. That's JHunter, and then REEL, and then Pineapple. And you can follow me on Blue Sky at realpineapple.bsky.social. Oh yeah, and follow me on Letterboxd at Black Shazam. As far as what's coming up next, I'm gonna have tomorrow. I'm gonna have 4 reviews dropping tomorrow for all the Beverly Hills Cops films. Beverly Hills Cop 1, 2, and 3, and Beverly Hills Cop Axel F. Reviews for that will be live. I'm gonna have reviews up for some indie films, including Midas, Queen Rising. Boneyard, and oh crap, what's the other one? Blackwater Lane. There we go. All with accompanying interviews with either the director or stars of said films. I also have this really awesome interview coming up for its film, indie film Goldilocks and the Two Bears. I interviewed the director and both starring actresses in that. So those will be up live next week. Oh God, what else? I'll have reviews up, as I mentioned, for Despicable Me 4 and Maxine this Sunday on stream. But I'm also going to go ahead and have reviews for the prior 3 Despicable Me films as well. I was going to watch the Minions ones. I'm not doing that. I've been doing a lot of work, y'all. You'll be fine with the 3 Despicable Me 3 film reviews.
I mean, you're also coming on Saturday, right? I know. Josh,
I'm going to be on Saturday too.
Yeah, so, Josh will be on. Hunter will be on the afternoon tune Saturday for best of 2024 so far.
Yeah, so I'll be talking about that, and then oh God, what else? Gonna hopefully have Viper Fox on here next week to talk some shit. I've been talking a lot of shit about her on a Tekken 8, so I think I'm actually going to have to buy Tekken 8 so I can fight her, because I
love Viper. She's the best.
Oh, she's the homie. She actually, quick shout out to her. I'll include it in the description. But she's having a closeout sale for a lot of her designs right now. I actually hopped on it and bought a couple shirts. So randomly, I'll start wearing those on random streams. But
send me the link. I want to pick up a couple of her shit.
Yeah, I'll send you the link. But shout out to Viper Fox. She's good people. But Nick, can you tell people what you've got coming up and where they can find you, sir?
Ooh, all right. Coming up on the afternoon tune tomorrow, we're going to be having reviews for Despicable Me 4, Beverly Hills Cop. Friday. Friday we'll have a stream. Sorry,
take tomorrow off. It's okay.
No, I'm on duty tomorrow, so
boo.
But it's for the rest of the command, so hopefully I can just chill in the office and catch up on things. But Friday we're gonna have reviews for Maxine, the 3rd of Ty West's X trilogy.
Let's go.
4 and Beverly Hills Cop Axel F. Saturday we're doing our best of 2024 so far with special guest. I don't know. There's this guy we got coming on. He's like a bit of an asshole. It was like
not wrong.
Really douchey name for a stream. It was like The Real Pineapple.
I was about to say, it's like, wow, I know you.
Real is like spelled REEL.
I know how pretentious.
Like,
clever.
But yeah, we have our basically anywhere you listen to podcasts, Twitter. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube.com, The Afternoon Tune. We just posted a review I hosted of In a Violent Nature, which I had a lot of fun with. I don't think it's the best movie, but we had Brandon, who was supposed to be on this stream, but quitter!
We still love you, Brandon.
We still love you, Brandon, but you're a brother, so I want to talk shit about you, but
Quitter.
Also, a lot of reviews like the one that you were also on, same with Brandon, of the guest coming up on the YouTube channel. If you want to follow me personally, you can find me on all the social media on Twitter, Instagram, Threads, TikTok, and Letterboxd at Night and Day Nick.
Boom. And I will say, I actually just bought the guest on Prime Video because they're doing Prime Day sales. It was on sale for under $5 in UHD.
Fuck!
I was like, that's a steal. So I actually bought that earlier today. I was like, oh,
fuck! I paid $7.
Oh, I'm sorry. But
motherfucker,
like, see, Bezos, you asshole. So yeah, if y'all were into to movies, which you clearly are if you're watching this, I would definitely recommend going on a Prime Video, just seeing what's on sale, because there's some good sales going on right now. I bought Abigail for $8.
You are gonna have a fucking blast with
that. So I'm looking forward to watching that.
Dude, the same way I was bugging you about X and the Black Phone a couple years ago.
Yeah,
I'm that hyperbolic about Abigail.
I'm gonna get to Abigail.
And the First Omen, but you don't fuck with
no none of that.
Yeah, because you're a pussy. But
I mean, I like sleep, but sure, whatever term you want to attach to it. I will say real quick before we get out of here, not to get too heavy, but I know the world is feeling heavy, y'all. I know there's a lot going on, and I mean, if you watched 2 minutes of that debate, I'm sure you were just like, wow, what the fuck is going on? But I will simply say this: one of the men is a narcissist, and if you looked up even 2 minutes of what Project 2025 is, there is only one clear answer on who to vote for, and I will just leave it at that. With that said, I will not be celebrating the 4th tomorrow, because quite frankly, there's nothing about this country that really should be celebrated, considering inflation, the job market, and all these things that are wrong. But what I will celebrate are people like Nick, people who have fought for this country, who have defended it despite our politics. And like, to those people, thank you for your sacrifice and for everything that you do. And if you're working, I hope you have tomorrow off. I hope you're able to take some time and recharge your batteries and spend time with your family, whatever. But
for the people for the people who don't have tomorrow off, I hope if you are at work, I hope it's at least kind of chill.
Yeah. And also, people, I will just say this real quick too. Don't be that person who goes to the store like at 4 p.m. If you need to get shit for the house or the barbecue, do that shit early in the morning. Like, give these workers some fucking rest. Like, let them be able to like get through their shift, and be nice to people tomorrow. Like, don't be a dick if they're out of burger patties or something like that. You should have done this shit a week ago, like, so be kind to people tomorrow. But again, Nick, dude, my friend, thank you so much for making the time. I appreciate you. Really appreciate you making the time. To those of you who tuned in, I appreciate y'all. Again, check out the homie Viper Fox. We'll link her store in the description, because she is the homie. Let me see. Is there anyone on right now that I'd say you should watch? I don't really know how to raid people, so that I'll worry about that next stream. But yeah, subscribe to the Afternoon Tune too, because they're great. They're great, and you should be watching.
We just hit 500 subs on Twitch. We're
man,
to 600.
Congrats! Yeah,
it's like, if I'm being ambitious, I want to get to 700 before the year's out.
So I will say myself, I'm still working. Like, I mean, I've been inconsistent as shit on my streams, but I'm on my road still to 50. So go ahead and help your boy out. Hit that subscribe button. Subscribe to me everywhere. It helps.
One of those 50 is me,
which I appreciate. Thank you.
And I got to be on the show, so do with that information what you will.
I know. Watch me have Doggett host this, and then people are like, people are like, how'd you lose subscribers? But everyone, if you are doing something for the 4th tomorrow, please be safe. Don't drink and drive. An Uber costs way less than fucking DUI classes and all that shit.
a lighter and decent throwing them are a lot cheaper than than an ER bill.
Yeah, and straight up, get one of those candle lighters. Like honestly, like I barely trust myself with a lighter of my bong. I would not trust myself with a regular lighter or a fireworks. Just
Yep. Yep. May your fireworks be loud. May your burgers be juicy, and may your beer be cold.
That I love that. And then send good vibes, please, for my cats, because fireworks are going to be going off in the next couple of hours, and poor Milo is going to be scared, and I'm already agitated at my neighbors. But it's fine. It's fine. Everything's
Dude,
fine.
I've grown up with dogs all my life, and for all of you below, if you want like a little bit of an accurate depiction, look up a Trevor Wallace dog fireworks.
Okay, actually, I haven't seen that. I'll have to look that up. But
I'll send it to you off stream.
All right. But everyone, again, thank you so much for listening. Stay safe, take care of each other, and never forget, as always, to keep it real. Thanks again for joining. We'll talk to y'all soon.